And we back. We here with a brand new episode of Be Supreme Spotlight. We have a part of our survival series. We have Latoya Diggs Jackson here. I'm gonna allow her to introduce herself.
Well, as he said, my name is Latoya Diggs Jackson. Everybody knows me in Richmond County as Mama Toya. And I've been through a lot, but I'm still here.
Exactly. As long as you're still here, and that's why we're here to tell the story, because I know your story can give a lot more people strength just hearing it. So how we're gonna do it? We're gonna start, and over the past couple of years, you've been through quite a few things. We're gonna start at 2005. In 2005, I see you had a miscarriage. Mm-hmm. So could you talk about that situation?
Well, first of all, it was an unexpected situation, but it was the beginning of a learning experience for me. And I wasn't really ready to be a mother again, because the son I had in 2000, he was too young and I wasn't ready financially and all that.
You had one child at that time already? Okay.
Yes, matter of fact, he's 20 now.
Okay.
So, I looked at it, I couldn't be upset or anything. I just took it for what it was and kept it moving.
And then also in 2005, you got in a car accident?
Yes. April 19th, 2005, close to 2 o'clock. I was on my way to pick my son, who was 4 years old at the time, up from Head Start. And I was traveling number 1 north past what they call Sandwich Hut. Mm-hmm. And a dump truck pulled out in front of my car. Mm-hmm. And it was like he pulled out, then he backed up, but then he went on and pulled out and trying to get into the median. But at that time, I was already up under the truck.
Oh, man.
And I was airlifted to Chapel Hill, and it took so many people to get me out of the car that day. They had just opened the bypass bridge up where Waffle House and Hardee's is, and they used like 2 or 3 jaws of life. What happened when the impact hit me, I had on a linen suit and I was driving a 99 Camry and leather seats and stuff, so my linen suit made me slide, and I was on the floor holding the steering wheel, and my right knee was embedded in the air conditioning heat controlling radio. My left leg was broke underneath the pedals.
Wow.
So when I tell you I was alert through it, just like I'm talking to you, I was giving out phone numbers. Somebody go pick my child up from school. My sister was pregnant at the time. I could hear her hollering, and I was like, get her out of here because she's pregnant. I was I was trying to coordinate the rescue.
But it sounded like it was great that you still walking after like your legs being jammed up like that.
Oh yeah. I stayed in Chapel Hill for months, and then they brought me by EMS to Moore County Hospital, and I stayed there another few months. And when I came home, I still wasn't walking.
Oh.
So I had just.
So about how long was that? How long did you think it took before you could walk?
Let me see. Probably like. It was right before my nephew was born. He was born October the 6th. So it was right before then. The doctors didn't think I was going to walk, but I was determined. 12 surgeries. When I tell you, I left a lot of tears in Chapel Hill. But the miracle thing about the accident, I'll never forget. It was like 2 or 3 days after, and I was sedated, really heavily. But I could hear the CNA. She was singing, and I kind of cracked my eyes open a little bit, and she was writing her name and stuff on the board, and so I started singing with her, and she was like, "Hey, you awake?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "You can sing." I said, yeah, all my life. And she said, baby, I know how, and she would, mind you now, this lady was so inspirational and she was such a Christian lady. She was going around my bed anointing me and praying for, she didn't even know who I was. But for her to do that, and then she said, I know how we're going to get through this. She said, every time we have to turn you or, change your bed, get you, dressed or whatever, she said, sing. And so instead of hollering in pain, because when I tell you I was broke up, I broke the bone in my hip. Mind you, I got a machine on this leg. They drilled a hole through this leg and put me in traction with 30 pounds of weight hanging off the bed. So I went through a lot. And so she said, instead of hollering in pain, take your voice and focus on that while we're doing what we need to do. Mm-hmm. Well, people got wind of it, the doctors, and in Chapel Hill, the students do some of the work. Mm-hmm. So the doctors would be like, hey, she can sing, go ahead, sing something. And that's how we got through, all this, what I had going on, I would sing. Even when I went to the rehab center, they got wind that I could sing, and they would bring, like the other people in the rehab, they would bring them in my room for a concert.
Oh man.
I'm singing.
You was showing out and you was a concert.
I mean, with my personality and me singing, I mean, I'm gonna put it this way. My voice has, a lot of people say your voice helps other people, but my own voice had to be my own medicine.
Mm-hmm. That's what it sounds like too. That's exactly what it sounds like. And
I was determined that I was gonna walk again. Like I said, my son was 4 years old at the time, and one time I was having a real hard, like I didn't think I was gonna walk. And to hear my child say, Mommy, you gonna walk? That was gas for me. Mm-hmm. That means, Toy, you can't give up.
Right.
So, I mean, I never received anything from the accident. Trucking company didn't have no insurance, but I did not miss a meal. Never been homeless. My child always had.
That's crazy. The trucking company didn't have insurance. That's sad. So we're gonna go to 2008. 2008, you had another accident.
Yes, and I was on number 1 highway, but this time I was by the hotels. Mm-hmm. And a lady, she seemed like she didn't know where she was going, that she wasn't from here. And it was like she was in the right lane and she just clipped. I was driving my mama's Expedition at the time, and she was trying to get over, but she clipped me and I ended up spraining both of my arms. And I was hysterical. My son was in the back seat. My nephew was 3 years old at the time. He was back there. And I'm like, lady, I've been in an accident. I was just hysterical. Because, when you go through something traumatic like that, I mean, everything just comes back. Just like you just see everything all over again.
Destruction. That's all you see is destruction.
Yeah, so. But thank God it wasn't severe, and like I said, I had just only sprained both arms, but it was nothing like the first one.
Okay. So in 2014, you had a temporary breakup with your husband.
Yes.
Could you talk about that a little bit without going?
Well, I will say marriage is what you make it to be. And we went through a situation. It was a learning situation for both of us. Mm-hmm. When God is not first, like in the beginning, the middle, and end of that relationship, then you're gonna allow the devil to come in, and what is his job? To kill, steal, and destroy. And that's what he did at the moment. He came in and busted everything up for a while, and it was what we know now is that God had to teach him some things. He had to get me by myself to teach me some things. But then when he brought us back together, then it was some stuff that we learned together. And as a result, we're able to communicate better now. We know how to decipher when the devil is trying to come in and destroy something or get us off track. Because the devil don't want a happy marriage. He don't want to see couples getting along and, loving each other. His job is, just like I said, to destroy. So as a result of that, we've grown so much more. I mean, to be able to be with somebody that for a absolute certain that God brought that person to you, that's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. It is. How long were y'all together at that time? That was 2014. So what year did y'all get married?
We got married 2010. This story is not for everybody, but I met him on June 4th, 2010, and we got married the very next month on his birthday.
Oh, man. Yeah, I knew.
So we had to learn each other and all that. But like I said, when he creates somebody just for you, it's perfect. You know what I mean? Like I said, that story isn't for everybody. Everybody can't do what we did.
Right.
But when you are willing to put in the work, you get great results. And so his birthday of this year, July 22nd, it'll be 11 years.
Oh, man. It worked out.
It worked
out. Taking that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like you said, it's not for everybody, but sometimes when you know, and y'all knew. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. 2015 and 2016, you had back-to-back miscarriages.
Yes. We knew we wanted children, but we didn't really know how my body would hold up, from my accident or whatever. So we had talked to the doctor, and they was like, yeah, you should be good. So we had just moved into a mobile home in the Redwoods off of County Home Road. And I didn't even know when we was moving, I didn't know I was pregnant till like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. And I went to work because I used to drive the school bus, so I went to work, and it was just like my body just felt like a light switch had turned off, and I didn't even feel pregnant anymore. I'm like, something going on. So I called my husband. I said, babe, I think something is wrong. I said, because I don't even feel pregnant anymore. And he was like, why would you say that? Don't speak negative or whatever. And I was like, I know my body is something ain't right. So I got home, I called the doctor, and they told me to come in. And sure enough, when I went in, they checked for a heartbeat, and there was no heartbeat. Wow. So I had to have a D&E to extract it from my body. And the same thing happened in 2016. But what made it more harder in 2016, it was around Mother's Day, and my mama was in the hospital at the time, so that was right before she had passed, so it was like really, really rough.
Yeah, back to back. Yeah, and then you talking about with your mother, I know that's rough for sure.
Yeah, and then shortly after,
oh, your aunt?
Yeah, my aunt passed in May of 2016. Then a few months later, my mama passed. And if you ain't never lost a parent, then that's a different ball game in itself. You know what I mean?
That's something I couldn't imagine.
And it takes strong people to rally around you and help lift you, and because otherwise you will lose your mind. And so thank God my husband, being that he had already lost his parents, a sibling and a niece, all within a 2-year span of each other before I met him. So he was able to really help me through that process, the grieving process. Like I said, otherwise, I would have lost it, because the day that your parent is put in the ground, a part of you is put in the ground with them.
Yeah, my grandfather, he was older in age, of course. And when my great grandma died, he said something that really resonated with me. At his age, he said that he feel like an orphan. Like when his mother was my grandma, she was 98 when she died.
Mm-hmm.
So at that age, saying you feel like an orphan, like still knowing that a parent, no matter what age it is, you're losing a parent is gonna impact you no matter what.
What brought me comfort and joy? My mama lived a good Christian life, and she always talked about going to heaven. And between me and my siblings, she taught us right from wrong and told us, how she taught us how to pray and to do what's right so that we could get there. So it brought comfort to me knowing that my mama was where she always talked about she wanted to be, in heaven. Yeah. She lived a life, so I chose to be happy. She was sick, and so when you don't want to see your loved ones suffer whatsoever. You do not want to see them suffer, and so after my grieving, I chose to be happy. She got a new body, a new address. She with the Lord, where she always talked about. And so, you can't really be sad long.
Yeah. So you was able to let that go. That's good. That's a great way to look at it. A positive way to look at it. So in 2017, you lost two of your first cousins. Could you talk about that?
Well, me and you share one of them, which is Russell. That was my grandmother's oldest grandchild. And 2 months after, about 2 or 3 months after that, my mama's only sister child, which she was the only child, she passed away suddenly. And me and Russell, we were close, and me and my cousin, her name was Odette, we was raised like twins at one time, even though she lived in Raleigh. A lot of times when she would come down, my auntie would come down, my mama and my aunt would go shopping, buy us dresses just alike or whatever. I spent a lot of time up there, and I didn't want to believe it at first. It didn't register until the day of the funeral. That's when it really hit me, like, this is for real. And the thing is, I sang for all these funerals that we talking about. And people like, Toya, where do you get the strength to? It's God. I know what my calling is. I know I'm anointed. And all I do, like, before I get up to sing, I say, God, give me the strength to get through it. And, you put the right song on my heart to be able to comfort others. Yeah. And so.
And you feel like that's your gift that God gave you to give to the world, right? Right. Yeah, I had to distinguish that because I said that same thing, something like that to my mother. I was telling her, I'm much rather, because I shoot, of course, shooting videos, what I love doing. So, like with weddings, I go to my family's wedding, I would rather shoot the wedding than be in it, because
Right.
I really feel like God like blessed me in ways to do this. Is this what He want me to do?
Right.
So like I feel like I can provide more to your like your memories forever from this than me being in it. But that's just because I feel like that's what God want me to do in life. Like, I feel that passionate about it. The way that I feel like you feel like that about the singing.
Because I mean, I started singing when I was 2 years old at Poplar Springs Missionary Baptist Church.
Yeah, you was 2 years old. Man.
And look,
2 years old.
singing with the gospel choir, because the kids, they was like, she sing too good. She need to go with Dion.
Man, good. Yeah, you had to do that.
Well, at the age of 3, I was singing Reverend Frances Cole. She used to be one of the associate ministers at Asla Chapel. She had an evangelist where she, went to different churches or whatever. So I learned her theme song, and I would go wherever she had to go preach to sing her theme song, even on the radio when I was small.
You was singing everywhere. You was a singer. That was definitely.
Look, a lot of times I would go to church with my grandma. I'll see her slip somebody a note. Let my grandbaby sing. That was my hype man.
Oh, she knew already. Your granny always know that. Granny always know.
Yeah, boy.
So we back at 2018.
Okay, 2018. My husband had lost his grandmother, and like a week later, my mama's brother that lived up the street from us, he passed away. And about 2 weeks after that, I found out I was pregnant again. So, throughout the whole pregnancy, we had a great pregnancy. I mean, I wasn't too sick. My husband was doing all the sickness and gaining the weight and all that.
That's a great pregnancy.
Yes. Yeah, torture on him was great for me.
Hey, well, you got the baby on you, so it's
right. And but after losing those other babies, I became paranoid, because every time I felt like something was different or whatever, I would be running to the hospital,
Especially because you was able to call it last time.
So, and a few times, some people had to say, Toya, just take it easy. You're having a panic attack or whatever. And, you just got to trust God through it or whatever. So we went through the whole pregnancy. Everything was good. And matter of fact, my doctors in Moore County transferred me to Chapel Hill, where I was in the bad accident, and they sent me. So because I was high risk because of my age and, everything I had going on from my accident. So, every doctor's appointment, he's healthy, he's good, strong heartbeat, blah, blah, blah. And so, my birthday was November the 11th, which that year was on a Sunday. Then we had our final doctor's visit on that Monday, which was the 12th, and I was supposed to be induced on the 13th. So we get to the hospital, and they finally get us in a room and stuff. And they, they give me the epidural and start the Pitocin and all that. Everything is good. But like shortly after they did the epidural, some stuff went. I don't remember everything. I know my blood pressure had dropped. The baby's heart rate had dropped. And I don't really remember much. All I know is when I finally came to, my husband was like, they had to work on you. Something happened and you blacked out, and they had to get your heart rate and stuff like that up or whatever. So the next day, which was on the 14th, I still hadn't dilated. So they about 8 o'clock, they made the decision to do a emergency cesarean. All right, so about like 9:15 he was born. And at first, we didn't hear him cry. I looked over at my husband. He was like, I'm on the bed and he was sitting right here. And I said, you hear him crying? He was like, no, not yet. And we like, is everything all right? And so after a while, we heard him cry or whatever. So we was like, whew, all right. So we get to the recovery room, everything good. And maybe like about 6 or 7 o'clock that evening, once they got us into a regular room, the nurses came in to do their assessments and everything with me and the baby. And so the nurse, she was like, something's going on with his heartbeat. His heart is beating irregularly. And they was like, do you mind if we call the pediatrician to come in? And so I'm like, no, y'all do what you got to do. And so they took him to the NIC unit. And, by me, still being in a whole lot of pain from it, my husband went down and to check everything out or whatever. So, and that was on a Wednesday when I had him. Well, that Friday was when they told us that he had what you call a vein of Galen malformation. And to describe that, me and you, we were born with a big vein and a little vein that pumps blood from the brain to the heart like normal. Well, in his case, he was born with 2 big ones, and it was gushing blood to his heart like a waterfall. And that was causing his heart to work harder. His lungs was flooding out with fluid, and he wasn't getting enough oxygen and blood flow to the other organs. So, and mind you now, I played this out on Facebook. And when I tell you Bing was everybody's baby, everybody was cheering this song from the time I announced that I'm pregnant to, we at the hospital. Everybody was tuned in to what was going on with this baby Bing. And so every time I said, look, something going on, y'all pray. Everybody was chiming in, they was praying, they was calling or whatever. And at first, they were saying that we weren't going to be able to come home. And I had a few friends that came over and anointed me, anointed the baby, anointed my husband. And we just prayed and believed God, whatever was going to happen was going to happen. So, long story short, we weren't even supposed to bring him home. But on my cousin's birthday, the one that passed away shortly after Russell, it was her birthday, November the 17th. The doctor had released us. They said, look, what we're going to do is try to put him on medicine and try to build up, let him get a little older and, see if everything can, let him grow a little bit first before they try to do a medical procedure on him. And like I said, it was a miracle that he even got a chance to come home. But Chapel Hill had it set up with our pediatrician where they would check on the baby often, see if he's growing and everything. And they was going to administer the medicine that he needed to help him grow and, build his lungs up or whatever before they did the procedure. Well, that was on a Saturday night when we got home. Sunday night, we started hearing him make a different noise that we had never heard. And so that Monday, I was supposed to see the people at the social services and all that kind of stuff, get some business taken care of. And then we were supposed to go to his appointment at 1 o'clock that afternoon. Well, he felt cold and he was looking pale, so I called the doctor and I was like, look, something is wrong. He's making a noise and he's very cold. So they was like, bring him on up. And as soon as they checked his temperature, they immediately called 911. So my husband had to ride in the EMS with EMS, and I drove to the hospital because I wasn't, by me being, still open from my C-section or whatever, I couldn't really climb up into the EMS. So we get there, they working on him, and next thing you know, they calling Chapel Hill to airlift him back to Chapel Hill. So we came home, packed up clothes, me and my husband, and went on up there. We got there probably like 7, 8 o'clock or whatever. And so we met with the doctor the next day. And that doctor looked me in my face and said, your baby gonna die. That was a little harsh, you know what I'm saying? No. Now, like I said, he had a rare condition, but I mean, here I am as a mom, like I'm scared, I'm panicking, because this woman done told me my baby gonna die or whatever. And so what they wanted to do was a procedure where they could go in and try to stop some of the blood flow as much as possible. And she had told me that it was a possibility that he could die while they were doing the procedure or whatever. So a friend of mine had given me some bless oil, and she had told me to take it with me when the day I had the baby and all. And so I kept it in my pocketbook, and that Monday morning, right before his procedure, I anointed everybody. I got there bright and early. When I tell you I anointed everybody that was going to touch that little body, I anointed all the nurses, every doctor that came in there, and especially the one that told me, your baby going to die. Yeah. Now, my husband, right before they took him, down for the procedure, my husband said, did you see that doctor? He said, when you was sitting there praying, that she had a tear in her eye. I said, because that's the power of prayer. Yeah. And so he made it through that procedure, and they still had him on a regular ventilator. And we went through the highs and lows of, oh, he's getting better. Oh, he's a very sick boy. To, oh, things aren't looking good. Oh, he's had a good day today. We went through a roller coaster of highs and lows.
How long was that?
For like almost 2 weeks. And so I had a doctor's appointment on December the 3rd here. And so that morning we got up about 5 o'clock. I called the hospital. And mind you, thank God for the Ronald McDonald House. They let us stay there. And they fed us. They made sure we were okay. They had a place for me to pump at the time, his breast milk or whatever. So like I said, we called that morning to check on him before we came down here. All we was gonna do was just come down here for this appointment and then rush right on back. We got as far as to Sanford, and there was the doctor called and said, look, where are you? I said, well, I told y'all I got to go to this appointment. They said, we need you back here ASAP. Now, if I called at 5 o'clock and everything was, oh, he had a good night, what happened, And so, and we turned around right in front of McDonald's in Sanford and rushed right on back. And that's when they let us know, look, he's not getting better. And they was like, you're going to have to make the decision to take him off life support. That was rough, brother. That was rough.
So they told you you're going to have to make the decision to do that.
And so, me and my husband, we had already talked, because like I said, even with my mama and everybody else that had done gone on, we didn't want to see him suffer. Yeah. So I went live, and I had to break the news to everybody because, like I said, this was Facebook's baby. You know what I'm saying?
The whole process was like,
Yeah, I took them on this journey of being, and so I let everybody on Facebook know what we were up against, and thanked everybody for all their love, all their support, all their prayers, the GoFundMe gifts, and people were putting money into my account, calling me, ask what's your bank account, information, we need to give you money or whatever. And it was such a blessing, and the outpouring was just, it was in abundance. And so when we decided to take him off, what they did was I had him baptized first. I called my old pastor, Pastor Lamont Johnson, and one of my good friends that I went to school with. He's the pastor of a church in High Point. They came over and we had a little baptism, and then they put us in a private room, and they let me hold him until he took his last breath. And I went live.
I know that was definitely a life-changing experience.
It was. And after everything was over with, they let me wash him and get him prepared for the funeral home to come up and pick him up, which my daddy at the time worked at the same funeral home, Nelson Funeral Home. So as soon as we got into Rockingham, I know that the pastor that did the little baptism, he was going to be preaching at Providence. So when we got into Rockingham, I told my husband, I said, drop me off at the church. And he like, huh? I said, yeah, drop me off at the church. I said, I'll get home. And people were looking like, but you was just on live where you lost your child. How are you in church? I said, oh, I'm going to give God thanks. Because, no matter what you go through in life, you still got to give God thanks and praise. And me and my husband, we chose to thank God for the opportunity. We had a great ride. It was a great pregnancy. We couldn't have, and we even got a chance to bring him home.
Yeah.
So how can you be upset with God's decision? And we learned that Bing was on a mission. His mission, during the whole time when from the time he was born to right up to his death, every testimony I posted on Facebook is say he having a good day or pray, y'all. People was inboxing me telling me, look, I ain't never prayed in my life, but I'm praying for this baby. I ain't never had a relationship with God before, but you got me talking to God. So we learned that Bing was on a mission to draw people to God. And so that gave us comfort, and still to this day, Chapel Hill keeps sending us messages or send us a card or write us a letter saying what happened in that room that we were in has never happened ever in life. They were forever changed by the spirit that we had throughout this whole ordeal. And they looking at us like, how can y'all still be smiling and whatever, and y'all world is turned upside down? God
was at the center of y'all relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that might have been why y'all went through them things a little earlier on before they brought y'all out.
Yeah, because it prepared us. Yeah, it prepared us for that moment, December 3rd, 2018.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. We're gonna go to 2019, 2020. 2019.
Okay, I lost an uncle. 2019. My mama's only sister she had a birthday. It was her 70th birthday. And me and my sister and then like Russell's dad and siblings, all of us, we got together and we had took my aunt out to eat for her 70th birthday. And the very next day, my uncle had a heart attack. And I think he might have lived like a week or two afterwards, and then he passed away. And then COVID hit. That was a whole, we ain't never been in a pandemic before, so.
Never seen anything like this.
Right. And so with that leading up to my dad passing away, you know, going through the scares of, oh God, did I come in contact with somebody, you know? Of course, the schools were closed down, and they had put us in harm's way, to be really honest. Yeah. They put us in harm's way, yeah. And so as a result of some stuff that had taken place at the school, which they had to eventually close my school down because some people became affected or whatever, when it came time for school to start back, a friend of mine had posted on Facebook, are you going to send your children back? And you know, being that we've never been in a situation like this, I chose to speak up and say, hey, y'all better keep your kids home, for the simple fact you don't know what this virus might do to your child. Yeah. Or if your child is asymptomatic and they bring it home to a loved one that's got a pre-existing condition, you playing Russian roulette with their lives. Then you got to think about children that were born asthmatic and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. You know, after me losing all the babies I done lost, you know, I don't dare want to see somebody else lose their child. Yeah. No. And so, you know, I chose to speak up, and as a result, I lost my job because of it. And it upset me. I went through a little depression or whatever, but I didn't feel bad because I knew that I was doing the right thing by speaking up and saying something. Yeah. And so, thank God I recovered quickly. I don't have the ideal job that I would like to have still, but I still got something. Yeah. Because God always got a ram in the bush for his own. Mm-hmm. And so, I had emergency surgery in October. And a couple of weeks later, my dad had to go to the hospital. And, you know, me thinking that he gonna get better, you know, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, he gonna fight through this. And as a result, the 21st of November, he passed away. And I really hadn't dealt with all those previous deaths like I should have. So when he passed away, it sent me spiraling. And that's what I want to tell people. Deal with those griefs when they first happen. Don't keep pushing them, you know, off to the side. You know, deal with them then, because it's always something that, you know, it's like the last straw that, you know, like this is the thing that sends you over the edge. And that's exactly what it did. I had never had a panic attack like that in my life. I thought I was having a heart attack. It was like all those other griefs and stuff that had happened, you know, the trauma from the accident, all that kind of stuff. It really rocked me it was like this last death, that was it. I mean, mine gone. Now, yes, I had plenty of people praying for me. Yes, my husband was there in support, you know, coaching me through it like he's been all along or whatever. But it was just something I just could not shake. So when we had the burial, I had a major panic attack, and all I remember, you know, it was like seeing my daddy laying where my mama and my baby was, it just sent me over. I'm talking about like I couldn't breathe. All I remember was somebody saying, "Get her to the hospital now." And at first they were gonna put me in the crazy ward because, you know, I didn't know what was going on with me. I couldn't talk. I couldn't do nothing. I was just gone. And I remember my husband, you know, at my bedside praying and said, "Toy, you got to snap out of it. You got to snap out of it, or they're gonna put you in the crazy ward, and you don't want that. I know you want to come home." And it was like they had given me medicine to try to calm me down or whatever. And I finally, you know, I was able to come around enough that I could, you know, understand, you know, because I knew my husband was talking to me, but I'm looking right at him, but I don't even hear nothing. Grief had done got the very best of me.
Yeah.
And as a result, they referred me to Daymart to talk to counselors there. And I also, one of my friends that's a pastor, he does family counseling, and he deals with grief counseling and stuff, so he had started counseling me too. And then they had put me on medicine. And I know that particular type of medicine was not good for me because I had already attempted suicide twice after my accident, my major accident. I had attempted suicide twice. And I even told them, I said, "Look, I've been on this medicine before." And they was like, "Well, we're just going to start you with a low dose this time just to see, you know, how it does or whatever." But that same medicine, it had me feeling suicidal again. I was like, I gave it 3 days after that. My son and my husband said, it's not working for you because you are not yourself. And so since then, I just been taking it one day at a time. I had to slow down on the counseling for a moment because the pastor's wife had got the virus, and then I wanted them to, you know, enjoy their holidays or whatever. So I'm interested in getting back into counseling, but that's what I recommend anybody. If you've gone through some traumatic, yes, we know what the scriptures say. Yes, we know God is a comforter. Yes, we know He's going to do exactly what He promised. But at the same time, God gave us counselors. They have studied, so utilize them to the best of your, you know, ability to get what you need to get, because grief will take you out of here. And if I don't went through all these other things and I'm still standing and I'm still strong, then I'm not gonna let nothing take me up out of here.
And that was my next thing. Where did you find the strength? Where did you find the strength to push through all of this, everything?
My upbringing, you know, I grew up with strong ladies. My grandmother, my mama, you know, my aunties, just strong, you know, always being in church all my life. I could quote a whole lot of scripture, you know, verbatimly, you know, but you got to have that relationship with God for yourself and trust that He gonna carry you through all of it. Like I said, you know, we trust and believe in God, but at the same time, you gotta get help, because I mean that's something that we as black folks, we don't really talk too much about is mental health and counselors, or, you know, having to take medicine or whatever.
And we write off a lot of things as signs.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
That you need to be and it's okay to talk to somebody.
Yeah,
that's
it
what
is.
you need to do.
Exactly. And you know, we as blacks, you know, you weak, and
exactly.
You know, a lot of people put you down for getting help or whatever, but
working on yourself.
Right. And like when I first heard that my daddy had passed, I told my husband, like 2 days later, I said, babe, after I get through this funeral, I'm gonna need some counseling at this point, because I know this is it's time.
Yeah.
You gotta listen to your own body,
Yeah.
your own mind. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm still taking it one day at a time. I still go through days where I cry. But I'm a whole lot better now. And one other thing that gives me comfort, all that I've been through, I try to help others. Like when I notice on Facebook or something, or somebody call me and say, you know, such and such lost a child or a baby or whatever, I reach out. I give my phone number. I tell them, you're not alone. I'm a grieving mother too, from grieving mother to a grieving mother. Here I am. Call me if you need me, because we got to stick together. When I see that people been in bad accidents and gone through something similar, you know, I reach out. Now it's up to them to take the olive branch. Right. But you know, it gives me comfort and it builds me up more when I tell my testimony to others.
Yeah.
In order to say, like, hey, you're not alone. I went through this too. It might have been a little worse than yours or whatever, but hey, if I can make it, you can make it.
Exactly. And that's exactly what this platform is about. People like Latoya telling her story. Thank you so much for doing that. Like we gotta, like you said, we gotta start utilizing each other. We gotta start utilizing these platforms. We gotta start utilizing the counselors that God put on earth for us.
That's right.
And not just banking on one thing. Let's use you can have the scripture and
that's right.
You can have both. So I know y'all want to hear her sing. We're gonna hopefully we can get her to sing something for us. And thank y'all for tuning in. You'll see you soon.
All right, the first song that I've ever learned in my life when I was 2 years old was I Don't Feel No Waist Tired by James Cleveland. And it goes like this. I don't feel no waist tired. I come too far from where I started from, and nobody told me that the road would be easy, and I don't believe He's brought me this far to leave me. I'm still here, still standing and still strong.